Good morning. Just before 8 o'clock, thanks for joining us. Veterinarian Dr. Jonas Watson from Tuxedo Animal Hospital joining us for your pets this week with his guy, Carlin.
That's right.
We're going to say he's not up for adoption. He's here just strictly to demonstrate for us how much chocolate is too much chocolate, especially at this time of year when there's treats everywhere.
That's right. Halloween time is a busy time for veterinarians because chocolate toxicity cases are on the rise in the weeks leading after Halloween.
Okay, so let's talk about what is it in chocolate that makes the dog sick?
Yeah, there are two compounds that are called methylxanthines. They include theobromine and they include caffeine, just like what's in coffee. It's really the theobromine of the two that's the more toxic, and because of their tendency to be excitable and sort of stimulants, that's sort of what we see in dogs, and it's very dose dependent how severe the clinical signs will get in a dog.
Okay, so Carlin here is about 30 pounds?
Yeah, it's about a 30-pound dog, and so we have calculated some doses of amounts of chocolate that will cause certain types of clinical signs in a dog this size, just sort of as a frame of reference.
Okay, so for a 30-pound dog, this pile here, what would this do to Carlin?
Yeah, this pile here, this is around a 20 milligram per kilogram dose of methylxanthines in milk chocolate, and this would probably cause vomiting and diarrhea, maybe some stomach upset, maybe some bloating and some nausea, nothing too serious. And actually, if the dog ingests this and vomits it up, that'll sort of help to decontaminate. It's the body's own way of decontaminating itself.
So it's almost a good sign at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, moving on to this medium-sized pile.
Yeah, this pile, it gets a little bit more serious. This is about a 60 milligram per kilogram dose of methylxanthines, and this is where we start to see a lot of these neurological and cardiac effects. So an elevated heart rate, nervousness, tremors, the start of seizure activity,
Yikes.
Increased blood pressure. This is where it starts to get considerably more serious.
Okay, and this pile over here, that's a terrifying amount for a dog to eat.
This is about 85 individual snack-sized chocolate bars that you might get at Halloween. This is about 100 milligram per kilogram dose of methylxanthines, and this is what we call the LD50, the lethal dose. So this is the volume of chocolate bars that a 30-pound dog would eat that would kill half of the dogs who eat that amount. So this is a very serious amount. We definitely don't want dogs to eat anywhere near that amount of chocolate.
No, now it's kind of twofold. I mean, families that their dog might get into one, not a reason to panic because likely they can process that. But it's when we start talking this much based on their body weight.
Yeah, huge volumes, and that's in terms of the chocolate toxicity, the actual toxins in chocolate. The other thing that we worry about with chocolate ingestion is the fact that there's cocoa butter in there, which is high in fat, and that can lead to an inflammatory and painful condition called pancreatitis, which is a very common disease in dogs. Veterinarians treat it year-round, not just at Halloween, and sometimes even just half a dozen chocolate bars in a sensitive and smaller dog is enough to set them off and make them quite sick.
Okay, so what are some warning signs? You kind of went through the different symptoms there, but at what point should we be calling our vet or going to the vet? You know,
I think it's worthwhile to call your vet if you know that the dog has eaten any amount of chocolate, just so that they can do the math. There's so many variables at play here. The amount of chocolate eaten, how long it's been since the dog ate it, variables related to the dog itself. So if you know the dog has eaten chocolate, it's probably worth a phone call, and then the veterinarian can decide whether or not we need to seed the dog, whether vomiting can be induced at home. Those kinds of decisions could be best guided by a veterinarian.
Biggest thing though, keep that treat bag up high, tucked away.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this time of year, there's treats all over the place, so make sure your kids know not to give chocolate to the dog. Make sure that, especially if your dog is the type of dog that gets into things, be extra vigilant about where you store chocolates, high shelves, rooms with the door closed, and you can avoid these kinds of problems.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Carlin. You got lots to say this morning. You stay out of the treats. Make sure your pets are protected. That's Dr. Jonas Watson from the Tuxedo Animal Hospital. We're taking a quick break here in BT. More coming up. Stick with us.